In 2021 Hall of Fame class is officially enshrined. We now look ahead to 2022. Some of the notable first-time eligibilities include DeMarcus Ware, Steve Smith Sr., Andre Johnson, Robert Mathis, and Anquan Bolden, plus the big man, Big Vince Wilfork. All right, camps, of course, are still going on around the NFL. And with that in mind, we head over to our daily segment of Reading and Reacting. Read and React, and Bruce Arians had some thoughts after a less than stellar practice performance from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. BA always calls it how he sees it. Here's what he had to say.
Probably the worst offensive practices we've had in 3 years. Kind of a pattern of behavior now. After a day off, our offense just stinks.
What do you as a coach do to kind of get to reverse that, to lead the reverse of that trend? Well,
back in the day, we'd be out here running the shit out of them, but that don't work anymore. Go to jail for that stuff now. They just got to grow up and man up. I mean, it's been identified, so you got to fix it.
I feel like after hearing that, Bruce Arians was my Pop Warner coach when I was like 12 in 1995, because when we made mistakes, my coaches made us run until we threw up. Also, Joe Judge probably differs, because rumor has it that the Giants have been doing some up-downs, some laps, some jogs, multiple sprints in the Giants camp, and they haven't been arrested yet. So I say, BA, you get after him.
Okay, get after him, says Dan Orlovsky. Let's go to the opposite corner of the NFL map. That's the Pacific Northwest, where Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson wants the team to figure it out with left tackle Dwayne Brown, who quarterbacks in NFL history with 60 touchdown passes through their first 2 seasons. So, Dan, it was a blissful year for Justin Herbert in many ways, but what's the biggest thing he needs to work on going into year 2?
Yeah, I would say learn from Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen.
How so?
Well, those guys are those home run hitters that defenses have forced. Patrick 2 years ago and then Josh this past year forced them to just play small ball. Like, force them to be home run hitters that are willing to hit singles, or when the defense overshifts in baseball to throw down a bunt down the third. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
Justin had so much success throwing the ball downfield last year. He's this big 6'5", 240-pound quarterback, and he's got an absolute rocket for an arm. So he had so much success throwing the ball downfield last year. So you come in as this big, talented guy, you're offensive rookie of the year, you break the rookie touchdown passing record, and you got to do some self-scouting. Because, listen, defensive coaches are smart. They're not just going to sit back and be like, we're just going to let this guy continue to push the ball downfield. They're going to teach their defense, when we're playing the Chargers, we're going to play back. And we're going to force this guy to take check down. And 2 years ago, I remember Patrick struggled a little bit with it. I think even a little bit last year, Patrick struggled. Josh Allen struggled for a month or so with it last year, of really the temptation to just constantly push the ball downfield, and coaches are going to go, no, we're going to make you take those check downs and be patient. And the big thing is, I learned this from Matthew Stafford. The reason why guys that are uber talented don't like it is because quarterbacks like me can do it. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, those guys can do things that I can't do, so they don't want to do things that I could do. I could throw a check down, and it's the discipline to give in to the temptation, because if you constantly think I can do anything and push the ball downfield whenever I want, it gets you into trouble. And I think that's a huge self-scout moment for Justin Herbert this offseason.
I could not agree more. It really is going to be about that counterpunch, because what did the Chargers do incredibly well, or what did Herbert do incredibly well last year? Deep ball, play under pressure, extending plays. What did they not do well? They actually didn't have a very efficient rushing attack, right? And some of the underneath stuff from a clean pocket was less efficient. So if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm thinking, I'm not blitzing this dude.
Right.
I'm going to hang back, play too high, do what we did to Mahomes and Allen. And Dan, you remember week 1 of last season, Kansas City against Houston. That's exactly what they did. They didn't send a lot of pressure. They forced Mahomes to, pew his way down the field, and he did it because that was a sign of his maturation as a quarterback. Oh, I'm the greatest quarterback in the world, but I don't have to be in this moment. I'm going to take what the defense is giving him. And I think that Justin Herbert is going to see a lot of similar tactics from defenses, and it's incumbent not only on him, but also Joe Lombardi, who's the new offensive coordinator, to prepare this offense for those sorts of defenses, because I think they're going to face them a lot.
And that's, Mina, why you saw the Chargers devote as many resources as they did to the offensive line during the offseason. They know they had one of the great young quarterbacks in the game. And so they go out and sign Dan Filer from Pittsburgh, Corey Linsley at center, draft Rashawn Slater in the first round. So you put in all these new starters on the offensive line, talented guys up front who are going to protect your franchise and guard against the things that opposing defenses are going to try against this offense. You see the offensive line. It should be, on paper, upgraded over what it was last year. And you've seen other quarterbacks comment on their offensive line. Justin Herbert has to be really pleased with the way that this organization addressed that area going into this regular season.
Yeah, Shefty, I think it's a great point to talk about the upgrade and the window that they realized that they had, and so to fix the offensive line. Mina, you brought up Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator. I think he's a huge part of this equation when it comes to Justin Herbert being as good as he should be or the MVP. I was with Joe. I'd say the word for Joe and Justin Herbert is cohesion. Joe Lombardi's a very smart coach. He came over to the Lions from the Saints with us, and I would say the thing that was the big issue is he never saw football the same way as Matthew Stafford. Really good coach, but he never saw football the same way. And that's why I say cohesion. He's got to sit down and figure out, okay, Justin sees this play this way. And so you got to design the play the way the quarterback sees it. And that's something that is going to take time together, time on the practice field, conversation in between those reps, that cohesion of understanding it the same way. Because, and Mina, I think you see this the same way as me. The Chargers offense needs to be about shots after we play disciplined football. It has to be about shots. The play caller's job is to continue to build in those pass game concepts that have the shots downfield. And the quarterback, Justin Herbert's job is when it's not there to check the ball down and go, play caller, call it again. Check the ball down, call it again. Check the ball down, call it again, because eventually he'll hit it.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw a third name into that mix. You're talking about the cohesion between Herbert and Lombardi. They also brought on Shane Day from San Francisco. And I really think some of the principles of that offense, I mean, I don't know if they're going to go full outside zone as you're gesturing, but I think some of those principles, some of those deep shots off of play action, also throwing them into the mix would really cater to his skill set. I talked at the beginning of this segment about Keenan Allen and how he talked to me about Justin Herbert's leadership in that moment. Another thing he told me was that as last season went on, Herbert took more ownership of the offense. Instead of saying yes, yes, yes to everything the coaches were telling them, giving them feedback, saying, actually, I'd like to do this on 3rd and 6, you know, between 6 and 10 or whatever. That's what's going to be, to me, the difference between this Chargers team making a deep playoff run and them just being competitive, is whether Herbert can take that next step, which is taking more ownership of the offense. And as you said, combining with Lombardi, combining with Shane Day, and sort of finding that perfect marriage of skill set and scheme.
You have to hear, not listen as a play caller to the quarterback. You got to hear what he's saying, not just listen to what he's saying. When he says, I like it this way, you have to hear that and then apply it to your offense.
I'm not sure if this is doable, but I believe that every Raiders and Broncos defensive coach deserves a raise because they have to face off against Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert 4 times a year. That alone, the loss of sleep, should be compensated. And Scott was not on the field amongst several key starters on both sides. So after experiencing some soreness early in camp on his right throwing shoulder, Dak remains out of practice. Here's head coach Mike McCarthy with more on the situation.
Making a lot of progress. You know, definitely him staying back, was able to get some extra treatment, do some extra things. So he's doing, once again, this is more us than him. This is us being cautious. I feel really good about where he is. Just see how his progression goes. You know, he's doing some things, you know, as far as the throwing, and so everything's on a rep count. So just see how he progresses. He's done some throwing, light throwing.
All right, piece of good news.